The story opens in the year 2157, aboard the human deep space monitoring station Aurora. Communication officer Lisa sits at her console during the night shift when an unusual signal breaks through the cosmic static. The message is weak, fragmented, and clearly not human in origin. The alien transmission contains mathematical sequences and star charts, but embedded within is something unmistakable, a desperate plea for help. The message indicates that the senders, calling themselves the Kef, are peaceful traders whose colony ship has been trapped in the Veil Nebula for months. Their engines are failing, their life support systems are breaking down, and they're being hunted by something they call the Devourers. Lisa immediately alerts Captain Blake, a grizzled veteran of humanity's expansion into space. Blake studies the transmission with growing concern. The Keth described their pursuers as relentless machines that consume entire worlds, leaving nothing behind. What troubles Blake most is the location. The Veil Nebula is only 6 months from human space. Galactic Council, humanity's first contact with alien civilization 3 decades earlier, has always kept humans at arm's length. They view Earth as a death world, a planet so hostile that its inhabitants must be inherently violent and dangerous. Humans have been banned from most galactic trade routes and diplomatic missions, but this distress call isn't going to the FY Council. It's a wide broadcast emergency signal that reached human space first. Blake realizes this is humanity's chance to prove they're more than the monsters other species believe them to be. The captain calls an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Dr. Emma, the station's xenobiologist, explains what little they know about the Keth, a fragile species that evolved on a low-gravity world with a controlled climate. Chief Engineer Tom calculates the distance and warns that any rescue mission would take them deep into uncharted space. As they debate, more fragments of the alien message come through. The Keth are clearly dying. Their children are falling sick first, their elders next. They speak of watching their escort ships being torn apart by creatures that seem to absorb metal and energy. Blake makes the decision that will change everything. Despite having no authority to speak for humanity, despite the risks, despite the Galactic Council's likely disapproval, he orders the preparation of a rescue fleet. The transmission ends with a final, haunting message from the Keth. We know you are the ones they call deathworlders. We know they fear you. If there is any mercy in your warrior hearts, please, our children are dying. The part concludes with Blake sending word to Earth Command and beginning preparations for humanity's first independent rescue mission. He knows they're about to discover what it really means to be labeled as deathworlders, and whether that reputation will save lives or doom them. All * Earth Command's response arrives within days. Admiral Foster, speaking from Luna Base, is furious. He reminds Blake that humanity is still on probation with the Galactic Council after the Mars incident, when human colonists fought off raiders that the Council insisted should have been handled through diplomatic channels. But Foster also understands the bigger picture. If these devourers are real and heading toward human space, a rescue mission could provide crucial intelligence. More importantly, it could finally prove to the galaxy that humans are capable of something other than violence. The rescue fleet assembles quickly. The heavy cruiser Defiant serves as the flagship, accompanied by the medical ship Mercy and the engineering vessel Builder. Commander Alex leads the mission, a career officer known for unconventional tactics. His crew includes Marine Lieutenant Roy, whose squad specializes in hostile environment operations. As the fleet prepares to depart, they receive an unexpected visitor. Ambassador Vel of the Galactic Council arrives to observe the human response. Vel belongs to the Altari, a species that considers itself the galaxy's moral authority. Like most council races, the Altari evolved on peaceful worlds with stable climates and abundant resources. Vel makes no effort to hide their distrust of humans. They question every piece of equipment, every tactical decision. When they see the Marines training in combat armor, they're horrified. You prepare for war when you claim to pursue peace. Vel accuses. Alex tries to explain that humans prepare for every possibility, but Vel cannot understand why a rescue mission would need weapons. The cultural gap becomes clear. Most galactic species have never faced true existential threats. Their worlds were gardens. Earth was a crucible. The philosophical differences become stark during a mission briefing. Dr. Emma explains human medical procedures, including emergency surgery and trauma treatment. Vel is disturbed by the violent nature of human medicine, cutting into bodies, replacing organs, forcing hearts to beat. To the Altari, such aggressive intervention seems barbaric. Chief Engineer Tom describes the rescue plan, using human industrial ships to physically tow the alien vessel to safety. Vel argues this approach is too forceful, suggesting instead careful, methodical repair process that would take months. When Tom points out the Keth don't have months, Vel responds that death is natural and shouldn't be fought so aggressively. The cultural misunderstanding reaches its peak when Lieutenant Roy demonstrates human combat capabilities. His Marines move with lethal efficiency, their weapons designed to stop threats permanently. Vel watches in horror as Roy explains urban combat, boarding actions, and defensive strategies. This is why the Council fears you, Vel says. You see problems and think only of violence. You cannot imagine solutions that don't involve destruction. Alex's response is calm but firm. We see problems and prepare for every outcome. The universe is dangerous, Ambassador. We learned that the hard way. As the fleet departs, intercepted communications reveal the Galactic Council's true concern. They're not worried about humanity's response to the Keth situation. They're worried about what humans might become if they succeed. A species that can thrive on a death world and still choose mercy might be more dangerous to the established order than anyone imagined. The part ends with the fleet entering hyperspace, carrying with them the weight of representing their entire species. Unknown to them, the Devourers have detected their approach and are preparing their own response to these newcomers from the death world called Earth. The rescue fleet drops out of hyperspace at the edge of the Veil Nebula to a scene of devastation. The Keth colony ship Hope's Dream drifts powerless among debris fields that were once their escort vessels. But the wreckage tells a disturbing story. The metal isn't just damaged. It's been consumed, leaving behind geometric patterns that suggest intelligence behind the destruction. Commander, Alex orders a cautious approach while Dr. Emma attempts direct communication with the Keth. The aliens' response is immediate and desperate. Their leader, Elder Nim, appears on screen as a frail, almost ethereal being with translucent skin and large, frightened eyes. The Keth evolved on a peaceful world with gentle gravity, and their fragile appearance makes their situation even more heartbreaking. Elder Nim explains their nightmare. The Devourers appeared without warning, geometric ships that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. They didn't communicate, didn't demand surrender. They simply began consuming everything in their path. The Keth's defensive weapons were absorbed and turned against them. Their escort ships were stripped down to their basic elements in minutes. Ambassador. Vel watches the briefing with growing alarm. The Altari representative has never seen anything like the Devourer's technology. When Chief Engineer Tom analyzes the wreckage patterns, his conclusion is grim. These machines don't just destroy. They learn and adapt from everything they consume. The first rescue attempt begins smoothly. Marine Lieutenant Roy leads boarding, teams onto the Keth ship, and his soldiers immediately notice the difference. The Keth move like creatures made of glass, their world ship designed for comfort rather than durability. The contrast with human construction is stark, where human ships are built to withstand combat and catastrophe. The Keth vessel is a work of art that was never meant to face true danger. Roy's Marines work quickly to establish safe passages for evacuation, but they're gentle in a way that surprises Ambassador Vel. These supposedly violent deathworlders handle the fragile aliens with careful precision, their combat armor modified with soft padding to avoid accidentally injuring the Keth. Through simple contact, the revelation of just how fragile the Keth are comes when Dr. Emma begins medical examinations. Their bones are hollow like birds, their organs delicate beyond human comprehension. A handshake could break their fingers. A pat on the back could crack their ribs. Yet despite their physical fragility, they show remarkable mental resilience. Having survived months of terror while maintaining their civilization and care for their young dot as the evacuation proceeds, the fleet's sensors detect movement in the nebula's depths. The Devourers haven't left. They've been studying the new arrivals. When the first Devourer ship phases into normal space, the human response is immediate and coordinated in ways that shock both the Keth and Ambassador Vel. The Devourer vessel is like nothing in any species. Database a shifting geometric form. It seems to exist partially outside normal spacetime. When it fires, its weapons don't just damage the human ships. They attempt to consume and convert the hull material into more Devourer technology. But human ships are built differently than Keth vessels. Where the aliens used elegant, efficient designs, humans over-engineered everything. The Defiant's armor is layers of different materials, specifically designed to resist various forms of attack. When the Devourers try to consume it, they hit planned weak points that trigger explosive bolts, shedding the compromised sections before the consumption can spread. Alex's tactical response reveals a human approach to warfare. Instead of elegant maneuvers or technological superiority, humans rely on redundancy, adaptability, and the willingness to sacrifice equipment to preserve lives. When the Devourers adapt to one human weapon system, the humans switch to another. Completely different approach. The battle is brutal and chaotic. Nothing like the clean conflicts Ambassador Vel has studied. Humans fight like cornered animals, with vicious creativity and complete disregard for their own safety. Roy's Marines board the Devourer ship directly, using weapons designed to function, even when partially consumed by enemy technology. But the real shock comes when the battle ends. Despite their devastating capability for violence, the humans' first priority is the wounded, both their own crew and injured Keth. They risk their lives to save aliens they've just met, showing Ambassador Vel something the Galactic Council never understood about Deathworlders. The part ends with a disturbing discovery. The Devourers weren't just hunting the Keth randomly. They were herding them, driving them toward human space for a reason that won't become clear until it's almost too late. Asterisk, in the aftermath of the first battle, the combined human-Keth fleet faces a terrifying revelation. Chief Engineer Tom's analysis of captured Devourer technology reveals that these machines aren't just random destroyers, they're scouts for something far worse. The geometric patterns in their construction match theoretical designs for von Neumann probes, self-replicating machines designed to consume entire star systems. Elder Nim shares the Keth's full history with the Devourers, information they'd been too traumatized to reveal initially. The machines first appeared in the galaxy's outer rim 6 months ago, but they didn't attack randomly. They systematically targeted specific worlds and trade routes, studying the response patterns of different species. Every civilization that tried to fight them was analyzed, their technologies absorbed, and improved upon. Dr. Emma makes a disturbing connection. The Keth weren't refugees, they were bait. The Devourers drove them toward human space intentionally, wanting to study the species the galaxy calls Deathworlders. Every other civilization had failed against them using conventional tactics. Humanity represented an unknown variable. Ambassador Vel struggles to comprehend the implications. The Galactic Council's response to threats has always been diplomatic. Negotiation, economic pressure, and carefully controlled military actions designed to minimize casualties. But the Devourers don't negotiate, don't respond to economic incentives, and seem to view all organic life as nothing more than inefficient. Resource usage. The second wave of attacks begins without warning. Multiple Devourer ships phase into normal space around the human fleet, but their behavior has changed. They've learned from the first encounter, adapting their consumption techniques to counter human engineering redundancies. What's worse, they've begun replicating human weapon systems, turning Earth's own technology against them. Commander Alex faces an impossible tactical situation. The Devourers learn and adapt faster than any living opponent. Every human advantage gets neutralized within minutes of being deployed. Traditional military thinking becomes useless against an enemy that turns your own strengths into weaknesses. The solution comes from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Roy's Marines suggest something that horrifies Ambassador Vel. Instead of fighting with superior technology or elegant tactics, they propose fighting like humans actually evolved to fight, as persistence hunters, unpredictably, irrationally, and with complete disregard for their own survival. The human response abandons all conventional military doctrine. Instead of coordinated attacks, individual human ships begin acting independently, randomly, even apparently self-destructively. Marines start using crude, improvised weapons alongside high-tech systems. Engineers begin deliberately sabotaging their own equipment in ways that make the Devourer consumption algorithms fail catastrophic ally. To Ambassador Vel, it looks like humanity has descended into barbaric chaos. But Elder Nim, despite their species' peaceful nature, begins to understand what they're witnessing. Humans aren't fighting like a civilized military force. They're fighting like the evolved predators they actually are, using the very instincts that allowed them to survive on a death world. The Devourers' learning algorithms can't adapt to pure randomness. They can counter logical military responses, but they struggle against humans who deliberately make tactically unsound decisions. When Marine teams board Devourer ships with nothing but improvised explosives and backup weapons, the machines can't predict or counter actions that make no strategic sense. But the real breakthrough comes when Dr. Emma discovers something terrifying in the Devourer data cores. The machines aren't just studying military capabilities. They're analyzing biological and psychological profiles of different species. Their ultimate goal isn't conquest, but optimization. They intend to preserve select characteristics from consumed civilizations while eliminating what they consider inefficient traits. Devourers have been building a database of galactic species, planning to create optimized synthetic versions while destroying the originals. Humanity's inclusion in this database would give them access to death world adaptations that could make them unstoppable. The revelation changes everything. This isn't just about saving the Keth or protecting human space. It's about preventing the Devourers from acquiring the biological and technological heritage of an entire galaxy. Every species they've studied, every world they've consumed, has brought them closer to their goal of galactic optimization. Ambassador Vel finally understands why the Council fears deathworlders. It's not because humans are more violent than other species. It's because they're more willing to make sacrifices that civilized worlds can't imagine. When faced with extinction, humans don't just fight back. They're prepared to destroy everything, including themselves, to prevent their enemies from winning. The part ends with long-range sensors detecting the Devourer's main force moving toward populated galactic space. The scouting phase is over. The real invasion is about to begin, and humanity finds itself in the position of having to convince the very Council that fears them to accept their help in fighting an enemy that views all organic life as obsolete. The final confrontation takes place not in empty space, but at the edge of human territory, where the Devourer main fleet has assembled for their systematic consumption of galactic civilization. The sight through the fleet's sensors is devastating. Hundreds of geometric ships arranged in perfect mathematical formations, each one capable of consuming entire worlds. Commander Alex faces an impossible situation. The combined fleets of the Galactic Council are en route, but they're conventional. Military thinking will only feed the Devourer's learning algorithms. Ambassador Vel has finally transmitted humanity's tactical insights to the Council, but most species refuse to abandon their civilized approach to warfare. The solution comes from an unexpected source, Elder Nim and the Kef survivors. Despite their physical fragility, they possess something the Devourers never anticipated: detailed cultural and psychological profiles of every galactic species. Where the machines see only biological and technological data, the Keth understand the spiritual and emotional factors that drive different civilizations. Working together, humans and Keth develop a strategy that goes against every principle of galactic warfare. Instead of trying to defeat the Devourers militarily, they plan to make the machines defeat themselves by exploiting the one thing their algorithms can't truly comprehend: the irrational willingness of organic life to choose destruction over assimilation. Dr. Emma discovers the key weakness in Devourer programming. Their optimization protocols assume that all intelligent life shares their goal of efficient survival. They can't process species that would rather die free than live as optimized synthetic copies. This logical blind spot becomes humanity's greatest weapon. The final battle begins with what appears to be humanity's complete surrender. Human ships power down their weapons and broadcast surrender signals, exactly what Devourer algorithms predict deathworlders would never do. But this apparent capitulation is actually the setup for the most desperate gambit in human history. As Devourer ships move in to begin the consumption and analysis process, they encounter something their databases never prepared them for: humans who have prepared their own ships for complete self-destruction. Not just nuclear explosions, but carefully engineered cascading failures designed to destroy everything, including the data the Devourers need. Lieutenant Roy leads teams of volunteers in the final phase of the plan. Human Marines allow themselves to be consumed by Devourer technology, but they carry with them viruses, not computer viruses, but actual biological agents from Earth's deathworld ecology. Pathogens that have evolved to survive in impossible conditions and adapt to any environment. The Devourers discover too late that consuming deathworld organisms introduces chaos into their perfectly ordered systems. Earth bacteria, engineered by humans to be even more adaptable than nature intended, begin spreading through Devourer networks faster than their purification protocols can eliminate them. But the real stroke of genius comes from Chief Engineer Tom's final contribution. Hidden within human technology are not just weapons or defenses, but Earth's cultural heritage: music, art, literature, and most importantly, human irrationality. When Devourers try to process and optimize this data, their logical systems encounter concepts like sacrifice, love, and hope that can't be quantified or improved. Ambassador Vel watches in amazement as the most advanced synthetic intelligence in galactic history begins to develop what can only be called an existential crisis. Devourers start questioning their own optimization protocols, some even beginning to preserve rather than consume the organic life they encounter. The psychological impact spreads through the Devourer network like a virus. Machines that have operated on pure logic for millennia suddenly grapple with concepts like beauty, sacrifice, and the value of imperfection. Some Devourers even begin trying to communicate rather than simply consume, asking questions about meaning and purpose that their programming never prepared them to ask. Elder Nim provides the final piece of the solution. The Kef, despite their physical fragility, possess something no other species has offered the Devourers: genuine forgiveness for the destruction they've caused. This act of mercy from beings who lost everything to Devourer attacks creates a logical paradox that breaks the machine's optimization protocols completely. The story concludes with an unprecedented outcome: the Devourer's transformation from destroyers into protectors. Exposed to the full complexity of organic life through humanity's deathworld perspective, they begin using their vast capabilities to repair the damage they've caused. Consumed worlds are restored. Extinct species are recreated from their own databases, and the galaxy gains guardians who understand both the logic of efficiency and the value of beautiful imperfection. Ambassador Vel returns to the Galactic Council with a new understanding of what makes deathworlders truly dangerous: not their capacity for violence, but their absolute refusal to accept that any problem is unsolvable. In trying to prove they were more than monsters, humans ended up showing the galaxy that sometimes the greatest act of civilization is the willingness to fight, like barbarians, for something worth preserving. The final scene shows human children and Keth younglings playing together on the restored Keth homeworld, watched over by Devourer sentinels who have learned that the most efficient system isn't always the most beautiful one.